good afternoon if you're in Nairobi. We're happy to have with us on our hangout this morning, coming to you from Kenya House here in Stratford, London, the Minister who is in charge of trade, investment, Moses Wetangula. Great to have you with us. Thank you. Good morning. Yes. It's been a busy few days
very busy.
For you, for the government delegation, even as our athletes are preparing for the athletics. Already what we do have telling them what's been going on in the country. Some people are wondering, hold on a minute, the politicians are not running in any of the races, so you're not bringing home gold, silver or bronze. What are you guys doing in London? Please share your thoughts. Why?
This is a very important time in the history of our country. We definitely have an opportunity to showcase our country amongst we are here in London to Holland geared towards improving trade, investments, the image of Kenya, and many other things. And this morning we've had, I've just opened a meeting on trading between Kenya and the UK. We have looked at the whole profile of our historical linkages, our current profile, and our future projections on what kind of trade are we talking about, what are we trading in. Are we still emphasizing trading in primary products, or are we talking about value addition? And if we're talking about value addition, where do we add this value, and how does the value-added products benefit the primary producers? You know very well the largest destination of Kenyan exports in Europe, in fact anywhere beyond Uganda, is the UK. The UK trades heavily with Kenya as well, right from the colonial days. We sell a lot of tea, a lot of coffee, and many other things. The UK sells secondary products, manufactured goods, heavy equipment, and services between the two countries. So we are trying to see how do we appreciate what we have done so far, strengthen and firm what we are doing today, and broaden go.
People who are joining us, please clearly hear the conversation. We'll unmute you when we come to you. But there's almost an element of the East is doing a lot of business with Africa. And our traditional partners are perhaps trying to woo us back. Do you get a sense that there is this little bit of an East-West pull and an effort to say, listen, let's not forget we've been trading for a long time? And how do we introduce the concept of doing things on our terms when this push-pull,
Absolutely. I mean, Kenya is an independent African country, like all other countries of the world. You trade with who you like, with who you want. You look for the best value for your products. You look for levels of appreciation, the ease of doing business, and many other issues that come along that. The UK is in a unique position in that we have a traditional link. We have been together either as a colonial power on Kenya or as an independent friendly country for now over close to 1.5 centuries. This is very important. We have a common language. We have a common heritage, as it were. We don't need to go through a third party to communicate with each other. We have for a long time had the UK as our #1 trading partner. Of course, Kenya has the right to diversify its economic activities. We have looked east. From 2002, we evolved the Look East policy that has portended tremendous economic potential and growth to the country. But we also realize, and we continue to do so, that you do not abandon your friends because you're acquiring new ones. You strengthen the friends you have and then add on new ones, because that's what growth is all about. So as we embrace new trading partners in terms of countries like Brazil, countries like India, China, Thailand, South Korea, and others, we are fully conscious of the fact that the European Union remains a critical and major trading partner. The European Union in general, the UK in particular. And we were here this week showcasing what we have, what we can produce, and with the new growth projections that you see in Kenya. For a long time, Kenya was never a mineral producing country. In fact, we were the only economy in sub-Saharan Africa that has grown from strength to strength on services. Now we're profiling our minerals. There's a discovery of petroleum and many other things that are coming on board. We are now realizing our service industry is so critical, we must continue growing it. How do we leverage on our tourism with our wonderful beaches, our game parks, and our very, very good services that we offer in the tourism industry? Why aren't we hitting the 5 million mark? And so on. Okay. So we've come here to embrace our partners and tell them, look, we have done so far very well, but we can do even better. And the avenue for doing better things is visible. The president told them that Kenya is on the threshold of they want to take off together. And the responses from the people are tremendous, right from the Lord Mayor of London, the Minister for the Commonwealth, and the galaxy of business people that I saw in the investment conference. Right. This morning I've been having a meeting with another very, very big group of players in the horticulture sector, in the tea sector, the coffee sector, and many other sectors that are interested in not only growing what they are doing, but opening new avenues.
On a global scale, there's an awareness that Africa is the continent to be in, if you're talking business. Absolutely. I think the global struggles and also the resources on the continent have directed everybody's attention to Africa. Kenya is key because of strategic positioning, but also the fact that we've been a country that has maintained a certain level of consistency, peace, stability for the country and the region as well. Right. We've had all the reforms Waziri going on.
Yes.
But the bottom line, I ask you this for many people also out there who want to pose this question to all our politicians. Yes. Can Kenyan politicians shepherd us through a peaceful election process? Bring us out one nation to ensure that we are leveraging on everything we have going for us to build our economy even further.
That is the desired ideal, and I think it's an ideal that we're going to achieve. Kenya has held elections many times since independence. Literally, apart from some interruptions at the time of the upheavals of the late 1960s and the passing on of our first president, we have been on the spot. 5 years elections. Of course, certain electoral cycles have had challenges. The worst being 2007, 2008, where over and above the internal contradictions, the skirmishes that we've always had, it became a blown and full-scale post-election conflict. It taught us many lessons. It taught us...
Did it, Waziri? People, when you look across the parties, have the majority of politicians understood where we were and pledged to themselves, at least at a personal level, their campaigns will not take us that far?
Majority of them have understood, but you know, in law we have people we call reckless. The person is reckless when he or she knows what they are doing is wrong, they know the consequences, they do it anyway. We have a few of those that have continued with hate speech, that have continued playing the game as if it's business as usual, as if nothing has changed. But when you listen to the majority of Kenyans, I think the lessons learned from 2007, 2008 was a turning point in our history. That's why Kenyans who had rejected the constitution in 2005 overwhelmingly voted for the constitution in 2010 that was 90% the same document they had rejected. In fact, about 95%, the same document.
Recognition we could not continue with what we
have been doing. We have passed very critical legislation to manage political parties. Those have been the headaches of the country. Bring sanity to the electoral arena. Bring sanity to the electoral process. A new electoral commission, of course, it has challenges. We hope they will live to the expectations of Kenyans. And the success of our country today and tomorrow is not dependent on what I do and what you do. It's dependent on how, as a nation, we're able to live truly to the enforcement of the laws that we have passed. We don't lack laws. The will to enforce sometimes is not as high as we expect. What Kenyans now call impunity. Break the law, walk away with it.
And we look to you as leaders to be the ones who ensure, even whether whether in Parliament, and we are seeing a much more vibrant Parliament, I think, even this time around as well. Let me please bring in our guests who are in the other booth with us, please. As you start with your question or comment, give us your name, tell us a bit about what you do, and then go ahead. Let's start with a lady.
Thank you, Julie. My name is Ruth Maneki. I work for Export Promotion Council. Export Promotion Council is a trade support institution, a trade promotion organization that is run by the government of Kenya under the Ministry of Trade. And what we do is to position Kenya's products and services to the external world. And in line with our new strategic plan, what we intend to do is to anchor Kenya for our export-led growth. And as you know, every country that has developed, if you look at Korea, if you look at America, they sell their brand. If it's America, they sell their Coca-Cola, they sell their CNN. Korea with their Samsung, with their Hyundai. They are where they are today because they position their products and they've sold them to the external world. So we want to put our best foot forward as Export Promotion Council to make sure we position our products in the outside world so that they are products of choice. That when they're in the shelves, people are aware that our products are unique. We have few products that we sell, like our tea and coffee and our nuts. We also have a vibrant human resource that we also sell. You know, right now in the region, countries like Rwanda, countries like South Sudan are relying on our expertise for when they want to start up their departments and the new governments that they've just formed. So we are offering also services out there. And what we want to do is to deal with the youth, we deal with the women. We want the critical mass of Kenya to be mainstream for export growth. And if it is developing capacity in the youth, working with the Youth Development Enterprise Fund, working with institutions like the WEF, the Ministry of Cooperative Development, so that we mainstream women and the youth in export-led growth. We build capacity, we help them in enterprise development, so that we position.
Let me ask you this. When you say the youth, very briefly tell us how you're actually engaging them in this. Very briefly, please. I'm sure a lot of young people out there might be thinking, oh, how can I get involved?
Thank you, Julie. As you know, the president, our government, since our president came to power, has done a lot in developing funds that can help our people to be engaged in economic development. One of those that he founded was the Women Enterprise Fund, the SME Fund, and the Youth Development Enterprise Fund. So what we do, because most of those people, when they go and borrow the money, like a young man who think, I do not have a pair of shoes, so with this money that I've borrowed from Youth Fund, let me buy a shoe. But when we tell them, no, you do not need to do that. You borrow the money. If you start wearing boots, for example, not in the traditional sense, now in the business-like sense, we can be able to help the goods you're wearing to be bought by KMC, which has now been, the capacity of KMC has been improved. They have now even a new brand that is being started in Mombasa. And the demand for our meat, Julie, is big in the world there. Korea wants our meat, the Middle East wants our meat. We can't be able to fit it.
Middle East as well. I'm going to stop you there just because I think we need another one.
Yes.
Know what opportunities there are for them, and also give them skills as to how they can leverage those opportunities.
Yeah.
Let's go to the gentleman right next to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Ty, please. Oh.
Okay.
hold the mic. For those who might not know who you are, please introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Jaron Riga. I am the chairman of Export Promotion Council. Then my comments is a follow-up to what the minister has said about the politics and trade. Now you have noticed that since independence, we have had several challenges in our political field. But at the moment, Kenya has grown in spite of the politics. Because business is driven by politicians and the private sector, not by politicians. And indeed, the hindrances we have to our growth has been politics and the press. You and I, Julie, have been the problem. Have been the problem. In terms of how we depict our countries. If we left the private sector to carry on train, I think this country would be very fast. I think that was my input for now.
Wow, that's powerful. So the private sector has been doing an amazing job in spite of politics and also media. Thank you for sharing. The gentleman in the blue shirt, please go ahead.
Good morning. My name's Chris Davis. I'm from the Fair Trade Foundation here in the UK. In amongst all the wonderful display of Kenyan products we have here, the very inspirational Kip Kanui's tracksuit is always also on display, which I guess is a real reminder to us that behind the products there are people. The reason why we trade products is, of course, to develop as people, to meet our daily needs and to invest in our future generations. And I think I have a great deal of admiration for the Minister's aspiration to increase trade. But I think what we would also like to think is how we could work collaboratively to make sure that trade is actually translating into development opportunities. We know that farmers are not always able to get an income and security from their trading relationships, not only to meet their day-to-day needs, but also to invest in their community and their children's future. We would like to work more closely with the Kenyan government, both in terms of the support work we provide on the ground to almost 150,000 farmers and workers in Kenya who are involved in fair trade. So a sizable number, but just as the Minister has expressed aspirations to grow, so do we. We want many, many more to be involved in fair trade. And we would like to work more closely in the market as well, to be able to talk more to customers actually and the public about the people behind the products, the faces behind the products, and why we should care. And actually why when we go supermarket shopping we should make sure that we're buying products that actually give a decent return to the farmers, because we're dependent on them.
Well, thank you for that. Very important. Let's just take an all-round approach as we come to the close of this. I think one of the things, and Ruth mentioned it there, is the fact that with big, corporates, you do see the Coca-Cola coming from the US, you do see the brands coming from the US, and almost their government supporting and pushing them into markets. And I guess we've seen that with KCB now here with the government. Can you give us an assurance, Waziri, that the government is interested in building and supporting strong Kenyan brands, taking them into new markets, because it is very difficult for companies, local companies, to even imagine how to conquer, external markets?
Absolutely. If you look at the banking sector within the region, you started with KCB. You saw KCB has been the critical partner with the government in the events of London this week. They have been at the center of it all. They have been at the investment conference. They are at this Kenya House. They're everywhere. Look at KCB in Uganda, KCB in Rwanda, KCB in Burundi, KCB in Tanzania, KCB in Southern Sudan. It has all been moving in as a partner in some way with the government. Equity, the same thing. Cooperative bank is still moving out. You look at the tea exports of Kenya. The government has been a critical partner through the Tea Board of Kenya. You look at the Coffee Board and the coffee exporters. You look at our floriculture, horticultural corporation that has been helping the horticultural producers, fresh produce and so on, to market their products, open new markets. So the government as an enabler the government as a regulator and the government as the residual responsible group to help everybody grow is always there. We're passing new laws every other day. We're passing new rules every other day. We're making the market freer. Look at our financial sector. We have completely liberalized it. It's the most liberalized of the African continent to attract investors and to encourage traders. Look at the infrastructure levels. You know, Kenyan companies are now moving into our neighbors on the leverage of what the government does and the friendship between the government and those countries. So we will always continue these public-private partnerships with the government being there to drive and help the private sector achieve their goals.
There was a time, Waziri, in back in the day when government was actually playing a role in destroying business. So
Absolutely.
I think even for Kenyans, there's got to be the shift, mindset shift, to say, you know, oh, we can be assisted, and where do they go? Where do they go?
That mindset must change.
Where do
we
strong
have
businesses
Export
turn?
Promotion Council. We have the Investment Promotion Council. We have got the Kenya Bureau of Standards that guides people on standardization. We have KEFIs on agricultural products. We have regulatory agencies that the government has put in place by law to assist the private sector. And today, nobody in the private sector sees the government as a hindrance. Nobody in the private sector sees the government as an obstacle. Actually, every time I talk to KEPSA, I talk to big players in the economy, they see the government as a critical partner. In the past, whenever you had a meeting between government and the private sector, it was a litany of complaints upon complaints upon complaints. You haven't done this, you should be doing this. Today, and I've seen this when we met exporters and when the private sector hosted the president to a luncheon. They were falling head over heels telling the government, thank you for doing the following, thank you for strengthening this, thank you for putting this in place, and we believe together we can move on. To use the words of one of them, they say, there's no longer people sitting out there and say, where is our share of the cake? People are now asking, how do we contribute in baking the cake for the country? And I think this is very good. This tremendous positive partnership is what has grown economies like Korea, economies like China. In fact, China is state enterprises. They do so well. In Malaysia, in America, Americans will always give you money and follow it with their public corporations, do the work. So does the UK, so does Germany. They'll give you, the European Union will tell you, we'll do a highway for you from Nairobi.
We'll bring the funding with our people.
Yes, they tell you, we're going to do a highway from Nairobi to Nakuru. Right. But the bidders must be European companies.
Right. So supporting their own.
Yes, supporting their own. So sooner or later, as Kenya grows into the bracket of an industrializing country, eventually will be a donor country, we'll go to Mogadishu and say we'll do a highway from Kismayo to Mogadishu. The bidders must be Kenyan contractors.
I can see this is, it seems like it's already in the works. Somebody's thinking about it already. If you'd like to share your thoughts, though, I'm sure we can send them on to Waziri. So what do you think about government? Do you feel government is an enabler? Are you able to reach out to them? And maybe if you wanted to know who you could refer to with specific questions, you could ask that as well, and you could be given the agency that could assist you. Waziri, please look straight into the camera there and give Kenyans who might be watching, whether they're living in Kenya or abroad, a message on the future of our country and what we'd like to see.
Like I've always said, the greatest therapy in life is hope. Kenyans in 2002 were voted to be the most hopeful people in the world after the 2002 elections. Never lose hope, my colleagues. Never lose hope, my countrymen and women. We're a country with a great future, with a country with a rich history, with a country with a tremendous present. I am sure if you and you play your part, the sky is the limit, and we'll achieve all our goals in record time, if not earlier. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Waziri. Really appreciate it. Waziri just talks about baking a cake. The idea would be that if we all play a role, we can bake a bigger cake. And instead of seeing so many Kenyans struggling with scraps, we could all have a way of sharing that cake in such a way that we have vested interests in our country, our children have a decent future, and the sky will be the limit for us. So God bless you. Thank you, Waziri.
Thank you, Julie. Have a good day.
That's it from us today. More for you in the days to come. Thank you.